Welcome to our first class of 2014. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Dr. Couri, and this year we've kind of changed the venue a little bit. We've had, the last 2 years we've done cooking classes, and we've had a great amount of fun doing that. Well, this year we decided to change it up just a little bit. We're still going to have our classes with a pretty significant emphasis on food, but we've changed the lecture series this year to a series called Embracing Wellness. And tonight is the kickoff event for that. So tonight we're very honored to have Melissa Zange with us here tonight. And Melissa is a physician assistant, and she's speaking tonight about a topic, like I said, that's very important to both myself and to her, the importance of lifestyle as it has an impact on our health, both physically and mentally. And her topic is entitled A Fresh Start. I have known Melissa for 11 years, and I'm so grateful to have her tonight. The Couri Center is just very, very happy and excited to have you with us to share a story and a message that I think you will all find very interesting, and I think you'll be touched in some way tonight. A few housekeeping issues that I would like to address. Everyone has a flyer in their packet that lists the upcoming classes. The first class is going to be on April 22nd. It's called Gut Check, and I'll be speaking about the importance of optimal GI health as it pertains to a myriad of symptoms that we probably have all experienced: bloating, constipation, the inevitable irritable bowel syndrome that it gets diagnosed so freely but really means nothing, celiac disease, food sensitivities, and how our gut health, or the lack of our gut health, has an impact on our entire system. So many times when I see patients, we find they may be coming for symptoms completely unrelated to their gut. They may come with joint pain, they may come with acne or other rashes, they may come with fatigue, and then when we do the workup, the problem is in their gut, and they're like, but I don't have any gut symptoms. But truly, there's an old saying, dates back to Hippocrates, that if your gut is not healthy, the rest of your body is not either. So we're going to talk about that on April 22nd. June 17th, we're going to switch gears and we're going to talk about hormones. So do your hormones have you on the crazy train? I think we've all been on that train. Some of us are still on the train. And we're going to talk about the importance of hormonal balance as it pertains to perimenopause, menopause, and what options are available for hormone balancing. Because just like the gut, hormones play a very important role in our overall health. And if your hormones are not balanced, it's very hard to feel your best. It's very hard to achieve optimal health and wellness. So we're going to talk about different options to try to get our hormones in check. And it doesn't always involve hormone replacement. A lot of it is just done through lifestyle changes. We're going to switch gears again on August 19th, and Hope Plaker, our physician assistant, is going to talk about grain pain. I think there's quite a discussion out in the community now on a worldwide level about grains and how excessive grain intake has a negative impact on our health, and how it can affect our cerebral, our cognitive function. If anyone has read the book Grain Brain, Dr. Perlmutter is a world-renowned neurologist that has basically changed the paradigm, or there's been a paradigm shift on how we look at grains for as they pertain to our health. And so we're going to dig into this topic much more deeply on August 19th, talk about what the controversy is behind grains, because I think we've all heard the importance of whole grains, having a lot of whole grains in our diet, but really there's some new information that's coming out that may change the way you think about that. So that'll be a controversial evening, and I strongly encourage you guys to attend. And then my favorite will be on October 21st, and it's Q&A with me, or Stump Dr. Couri night. So we want everyone to come with any questions that you may have, as simple as they may sound or as complex as you want to make them. We'll have a very fun, interactive evening, audience participation. So whatever burning questions that you have that you want to know about, just bring them, and we'll be happy to go over that. I'm going to wrap this up here. Another event that I want you to watch for is going to take place in April. And this one is probably the most important one to me for the entire year. My daughter, Lauren, is 12, and her best friend, named Samantha, was just diagnosed with a rare form of bone cancer called Ewing sarcoma. And Samantha is currently in Memphis at St. Jude receiving the treatment that she needs. She's going to be undergoing aggressive chemotherapy. And as part of her aggressive treatment, she will be needing quite a few blood transfusions. So we are going to have a blood drive in April here at the Couri Center. The Red Cross is going to come, and it's on behalf of Samantha, who is probably the most beautiful 12-year-old you could ever meet. So we really, really would encourage any and all of you, bring your family, your friends, relatives, co-workers to come in April. So we're going to, once we get the date solidified with the Red Cross, we'll put it on our website. We will do an email shout out. We'll put it on our Facebook site. So we really would be very, very grateful if in here all of you could come and donate. Wrapping it up, I just want to put a shout out to Leslie. Congratulations to Leslie. Where is she? So a lot of you may know Leslie. Leslie is our exercise physiologist, my right hand, and she recently has earned another degree. She graduated from ISU in December with her degree as a dietitian. She passed her board, so she is doing wonderful things at our office, helping patients as not only a personal trainer, but also as a dietitian, especially in our TLC, which is our lifestyle program. And I also just want to thank Danny from Orthomolecular, who's also here in the back. He's here to help us tonight answer any questions about detoxification. He's brought some of his products. He's going to be blending up some samples for you to try of Core Restore and Life Core Complete. Core Restore is the product that we highly endorse for detoxification, and Melissa's going to touch base on how important it is to detox. So that is all I have, Melissa.
Okay.
The rest of the evening is yours.
Okay. Thank you. I want to test out the mic here, the mic situation. Can you all hear me okay if I don't use this mic? I tend to get excited and walk around a little bit, so if I could just get this out of the way, that would probably work out okay. If at any time you can't hear me, just let me know. And along those lines, I want to encourage you to just sit back and relax. Anything worth having or remembering, I tried to include in your packet tonight, so there shouldn't need to be too many notes to jot down, but just relax. I'll stick around afterwards if you should have any questions, and hope you enjoy my talk. I am a physician assistant. I graduated and was first certified in 1995. I worked for 5 years in family medicine, and then I made the big jump to orthopedic trauma and hand surgery. I resigned from that position to get pregnant by in vitro fertilization with my oldest son. And 10 months later, I got pregnant naturally with another little boy. And I haven't been back to clinical medicine since that time. But I'm really here tonight not to talk to you as a PA, but to talk to you as a woman who started my own journey to true health just a couple years ago. And hopefully by sharing my journey and what I experienced and learned along the way, perhaps I can inspire you to reach out and grab on to the possibilities that lie ahead if you just start paying attention to what you put in your body or what you're exposed to on a daily basis. Prior to 2010, I would have told anyone I was living a really great life. I was and still am married to the love of my life. We have 2 healthy, fabulous little boys. I was privileged enough to be a stay-at-home mom with those boys, was grateful for that time. I also had the great privilege of being alongside my dad as he battled CLL, or chronic lymphocytic leukemia. He underwent chemotherapy on and off for 7 years, but in 2007, he underwent a bone marrow transplant. And I got to be by his side for most of that journey, and that was a real honor. Mark and I had a close-knit group of friends that we socialized with quite often. We had built the house of our dreams in a location where we chose to raise our children and have them go to school. We traveled. You know, I was really, really privileged and grateful for everything that I had. And then in July of 2010, my dad lost his battle with CLL. And for the most part, it was a very peaceful passing. I was at his side. And for the months that followed, I did my best to help my mom pick up the pieces and move on. I had 2 little boys at home. My life had to go on. I did the best I could to fill their days with joy and excitement. And then in October of that year, my husband was hospitalized with a bulging lumbar disc. And thankfully, we have been able to manage symptoms very conservatively, and he's been able to continue to work as a dentist. But that was a really scary time for me to have my man down flat on his back. And then the following January, I was diagnosed with a pneumonia that I had a hard time fighting. It was nearly 10 weeks of antibiotics, breathing treatments, prednisone, and steroid inhalers before I was back up on my feet and resuming normal activity. Now, during that time, my doctor did some blood work trying to figure out why this 41-year-old could not fight this infection. And I got the call one afternoon with the results. And I was informed that I had hypothyroidism, high cholesterol, my lipids were up, my liver enzymes were elevated, and they advised me that I should start a low-dose Synthroid medication, follow a low cholesterol diet, and recheck things in 3 months. Well, I hung up the phone, and I was pissed. I mean, I was livid. And here's why. Prior to this time, all that was on my medical history was migraine headaches and infertility. And now, in a split second, I'm standing on the brink of chronic disease. And furthermore, this is a picture of my mom. She doesn't allow pictures of herself to be taken very often, but this is the day I brought my second son home from the hospital. And this was taken 3 months prior to her second heart attack. Her first heart attack happened at the age of 44. I was 19, and at that time, the whole family learned a heart-healthy diet and a heart-healthy lifestyle. And beyond that, I worked as a nutrition assistant. I worked my way through undergrad at Bradley as a nutrition assistant at St. Francis here in Peoria, and it was my job to educate patients on the diets that the doctors had prescribed for them while they were in the hospital. I knew the ins and outs of a low cholesterol diet. I knew a heart-healthy lifestyle. And while I wasn't perfect, I was paying attention. I went to the gym 5 days a week. I worked out for an hour, hour and a half. While my kids were at preschool, I followed this low-fat, whole-grain diet. And here's where I end up. I just wanted to scream. My kids weren't 19. They were 5 and 4. And somebody needed to stop the train because I was getting off. I was not going down this track. I wasn't going to have it. And that's when I decided to call Dr. Couri. She was my gynecologist at the time, and I knew that she had done a fellowship in integrative medicine. And so I wanted to let her know what was going on with me and pick her brain a little bit. And so I did. And that first visit, she talked to me for a long time. She asked me very specific questions about my diet, where I lived, what materials we used to build our house. And by the way, my first home that I owned with my husband was on a golf course, and then when we built our new house, I'm surrounded by cornfields, so there you have it. And I knew she was probably getting at trying to see what toxins I was exposed to on a daily basis. But I shared with her that I considered myself pretty educated on the topic. when I got pregnant with my first son, I did everything I could to make sure I was going to deliver a healthy fetus, and I became really familiar with a website that's put out by the Environmental Working Group. Is everyone here familiar with the EWG or used their website before? I gave you a handout. This is probably what they're most famous for. Every year they put out the Dirty Dozen and Clean 15 lists pertaining to pesticide use on our fresh produce. But their website really is a fantastic resource. They test products, thousands and thousands of products, and let you know what harmful chemicals are in them. And I'm talking anything from personal hygiene products to your drinking water, laundry soap, dish soap. You know, part of their website, or part of their, I guess their website is broken down into something called Skin Deep. And that's where you can find out what harmful chemicals are in your shampoos, conditioners, soaps, lotion, anti-aging products, sunblock. Anyway, I was already paying attention. I knew what products were lurking in what I use to clean my house and my floors, and I had changed soap at home, I had changed makeup, because a lot of cancer-causing chemicals are in things that we use every day. And they also made me aware of the fact that the cord blood of a newborn baby can test positive for up to 300 different toxins. That's what they're exposed to, and their only exposure to the outside is their mom's blood. So that can be what's swimming around in us at any given time. So Dr. Couri and I exchanged ideas and information, and she wanted to start a workup. She explained to me that she felt, even though I was doing what I felt were all the right things, she felt like I still had a certain amount of inflammation in my body, and that my liver was probably producing this extra cholesterol to help put out the fires. And so she started a workup and set out to find why I had this inflammation. And the first thing she found was that the type of hypothyroidism I had was something called Hashimoto's thyroiditis. And this is an autoimmune type of hypothyroidism. My immune system was so bogged down, so fatigued and confused, that it started attacking its own thyroid. And she also found that I was quite deficient in a lot of vitamins. And she thought that the reason for that was probably because of something called leaky gut syndrome, that this could be the source of inflammation, and that I wasn't absorbing nutrients that I was trying to put in. And worse than that, with leaky gut syndrome, things that my body shouldn't have been absorbing, like toxins, were being absorbed instead of excreted out. She did more testing to find out why this inflammation existed in my gut, and lo and behold, found that I had some food allergies and sensitivities, the main one being dairy. So she came up with a plan. I would have to remove the toxins and the immunological burden I was putting on my body. And we would do that with the Core Restore Detox 7-day kit, and then, of course, avoiding dairy and doing my best to avoid other toxins in my environment. Secondly, we would try to restore balance in the gut by starting me on a daily probiotic. And thirdly, we would allow the gut to repair itself after I finished the cleanse by using a supplement called Inflammacor, which is an all-natural powder that I make smoothies with. And it just helps decrease the inflammation in my body. And I remember sitting there thinking, okay, I'll bite, but I have no gut symptoms. None. Where are we going to get with this, really? But, whatever you say, Dr. Couri, okay. Yeah, that's it. No. So she stepped out of the room and came back in with the detox kit. And she said, take this home, read the book. It's self-explanatory. Come up with a plan for the week. Come up with a starting date. But before you begin, fill out this questionnaire. We'll do it before and after the detox and see if anything changes. So I did, and I gave you all a copy of the questionnaire in your pamphlet tonight, and it's just a list of general signs and symptoms, and you assign a number to those signs and symptoms according to how often you have them and how severe the effect is when you do. And so I gave some time to this questionnaire. And what I found was there were a whole lot of symptoms I was either ignoring or making excuses for. Possibly because of my education and my background, I tend to write things off and think, I know why it's happening. For instance, I told you I had migraine headaches, but the dizziness, I had just had this pneumonia and I wasn't oxygenating very well and had been on prednisone and these steroid inhalers. And I was having some pretty significant dizzy spells, but figured that would pass when I fully recovered from the pneumonia. Insomnia was a big factor for me at the time, but it had started after my dad died. I would wake up about 3 a.m. and not be able to go back to sleep. I acknowledged my grief, figured it was something that, I had to work through, and when I did, the insomnia would get better. And of course, with insomnia comes fatigue all day long and the needing to nap and mood swings. And also, I was 41 years old. I figured I was probably perimenopausal. My periods were changing. They were becoming a little irregular, a little heavier. The PMS was getting worse. The PMS was really bad, actually. Probably 2 weeks out of the month, I suffered from mood swings and bloating and pain and achiness. What else? Oh, the joint pain and different muscle aches. I would always blame on my workouts. I pushed myself too hard at the gym, or I shouldn't have increased the weights Anyway, so I had a reason for it all. And it's certainly, none of these symptoms were anything I would ever make an appointment with the doctor about. It was all just a normal part of my life. And when I added up my score, it was a 67. Anything less than 15 is considered a low level of toxicity. Anything over 50 is considered to be pretty high. So there it was in front of me, in black and white. 67, holy cow. I think it was time that I opened my eyes and start paying attention. It was pretty scary for me. So I went home and I did what I do, and I started reading and researching and wanted to find out what it would take to avoid dairy. And I didn't drink that much milk, honestly. I thought, this isn't going to interrupt my life too much here. I did eat a lot of Greek yogurt as a lean protein source after my workouts. I would sometimes have a whey protein shake after my workouts. But other than that, I don't know. Well, then I started reading and realized there's 65 ingredients in processed food that I needed to avoid if I was going to avoid dairy. How could this be? I couldn't believe what I was reading. And so I went to my pantry and I thought, well, surely the brands I choose will be okay. No, it's in everything. I went to my pantry, it's in sliced bread, it's in crackers, it's in the broth that I bought, it's in canned vegetables, it's in salad dressings, non-creamy salad dressings. It's in salad dressings. It's in pickles, it's in dried fruit. It was amazing to me. But the scary part was, once I started reading the food labels to look for dairy, I noticed other things that I thought I was avoiding, like artificial food dyes. I would never allow my kids to have artificial food dyes. Well, they're in freaking canned vegetables. And pickles. There is not a pickle or a pepper that you can buy jarred in this entire area without yellow food coloring in it. It's amazing to me. And I had marshmallows on hand because we were getting ready to have s'mores one weekend. And I guess Kraft, whoops, did I say that? I guess some companies have to put red and blue food coloring to get a white marshmallow. Seriously. Look at I just couldn't believe what I was reading, and I started feeling really overwhelmed. Like, oh my, I have been toxing my body. And so I knew that I had to do the detox. And so I sat down with my kit and I read the book. And I was already, probably wasn't very good timing because I was already feeling a little overwhelmed. But the book does a really great job of preparing you for what your week's going to be like. Does a good job of explaining the detox process and clearly states what foods you need to avoid and what foods you're allowed to have. Has sample recipes for you to use that week. The problem was, it just wasn't who I was. It isn't how I grew up. It was completely foreign to me. Again, I thought I was eating healthy, but what this book was saying to me was, you need to do better. And so I remember being in my room and I was, again, really overwhelmed, but I started crying. And I couldn't believe what I was facing. And I had to say to myself, get a grip. It's food. It's food. It's meant to nourish your body. It's not cancer. It's not chemotherapy. It's food. And you can do this. It's not going to rule your life like it does your mom's and your father-in-law's and your sisters and your friends. Do it. So I took the book to my husband and I handed it to him and I said, here's what I need to do. I suggest you read it so you know what's going on. But I'm going to start Friday and I need you to take care of the kids. I don't know what I'm going to eat and I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm doing this. And I don't want to worry about fighting with kids over the food I put in front of them. I want to prepare my food. You prepare their food. We'll see what happens. So I started the detox. In the first 3 days, I was pretty sick. I really didn't feel good at all. Had a headache. My whole body ached. I felt fluish. And of course, how you feel is directly correlated to your toxicity score, because this product helps your liver extract the toxins from storage, where your body stored them up, releases them so your body can excrete them once and for all. So here I sit with this high level of toxicity. Of course, as things are being released and excreted, it's kind of no fun. I really didn't feel like eating much at all. I got in my 2 smoothies every day, got in the water I was supposed to take and the PhytoCore capsules and multivitamins, but that's about all I needed for the first 3 days. And then the 4th day I woke up and I immediately knew I felt better. I got out of bed and I started moving around, and it was like someone flipped a switch. All of a sudden, it's like a fog had been lifted. Now, I wouldn't have said to anyone, nor did I say to you tonight that I felt like I was living in a fog, but I was. I was. And now, everything was clear, and I had energy, and I felt good. And as the week went on, it got better and better. We had moved into this new house, and I still had projects kind of all over the place. And I remember during this week, I would look at this project, I would say, oh, well, just get it done. And then I'd see something over here and da-da-da-da, and okay, that's taken care of. I had this newfound clarity and energy, and it was fantastic. And all of a sudden, it's day 7, and I'm done with the cleanse. Except I felt so good, I didn't want it to end. I didn't want to go back to how I felt. And so I decided that I would keep eating this mainly vegan lifestyle, or living this mainly vegan lifestyle. Except my appointment with Dr. Couri was still a few weeks away, and I wanted to adapt it so that it was more sustainable and be able to bring my husband and boys in on it too. And I really wasn't sure where to go for answers, and this is when the first miracle along my journey, or at least the first miracle that I recognize, happened. Mark had taken the boys hunting on a Sunday morning, and I turned on the TV, and Oprah Winfrey was starting a new series called Super Soul Sunday. And on the very first Super Soul Sunday, she replayed Chris Carr's documentary, Crazy Sexy Cancer. Is anybody familiar with Chris Carr or that documentary? It's fantastic. I had seen it a few years prior. I was a fan. I loved her. She was a 30-something living in New York City as a model actress when she was diagnosed with a really rare form of cancer, a stage 4 untreatable cancer. And she started filming about 2 weeks after her diagnosis and filmed her journey and all the roller coasters that went with it as she learned to, what she says, thrive with cancer. She didn't want to just live with cancer, and she certainly wasn't going to sit back and let cancer make the first move. She wasn't going to sit back and wait to die. She wanted to know what she could do to be in charge of her own health. So watching the documentary years prior, I learned a lot. I was really inspired by her, but here she was in front of me now that I was ready. And I said, aha, I'm gonna go see if she has a website, see if she gives out any current advice, what's happening. Well, lo and behold, she did have a website, but she had also just written a book called Crazy Sexy Diet. Got the book. In it, she shares in detail all the theories behind the diet and the lifestyle choices that she made along her journey, and all the experts that she met and she studied under put their 2 cents in the book too. So there's doctors and dietitians and holistic healers and integrative medicine doctors and oncologists, everybody sharing in Chris's journey contributed to the book. And it is a fantastic read. I've given it as gifts. Some of you might be saying, oh, I'm glad I'm not her friend. But honestly, I hand it out like it's a precious gem because it is to me. It is just full of so much fantastic information. But one of the things that I learned from Chris in the book, or one of the things that I was reminded of that I already knew, was that the body functions best in a slightly alkaline state. And what we put in our bodies affects the pH of our blood. Chris follows what she refers to as an alkaline-based diet. I gave you a list. I actually copied, it's probably illegal, but I copied a page out of her book that lists more alkaline foods versus acidic foods. Your green leafy vegetables, grasses, nuts, and seeds are the more alkaline foods. The coffee, the sodas, the animal proteins, the dairy, the alcohol are all acidic. This is where the standard American diet contributes to chronic disease. Most Americans eat a very acidic diet, and it leads to a diseased state of cells in our body. Our cells are constantly making new cells. And by what we ingest, and the air we breathe, and the water we drink, we have the power to tell our cells what to do. You have the power to make healthy cells. Everything started becoming black and white for me. Really, really drew a clear line. As I made decisions throughout the day, I could nourish my cells, or I could contribute to disease. But the greatest news of it all was, I was the one in control of it. And that's exciting to me. It's not my genetics. It's not anybody else's predisposition. I could change things. A doctor by the name of Dean Ornish wrote a foreword in Chris Carr's book. And I liked what he had to say. I was fascinated by it, actually. So I started researching him on the computer and looking into his work. And his work, and I gave you all a copy of this slide. If you can't read it, it's in the packet. His work was fascinating, and I had already learned a lot about the theories and stuff as I read Chris's book. He has proved over and over and over again, and other doctors as well, that healthy lifestyle choices lead to the ability of changing gene expression. And I don't want to bore you with a lot of science here, but all the genes you have in your body are not expressed at one given time. We have the power to turn on health-promoting genes and turn off disease-promoting genes. And again, I think that's pretty exciting. I don't have to become my mother. I don't have to go down that railroad track. I can turn off those disease-promoting genes. As I read more about Dr. Ornish's work, I was led to several physicians and several research studies and journal articles all saying the same thing, that we had the power. And I started feeling a little betrayed by medicine. I had studied medicine a long time. I had given a lot of advice to patients over the years. I have to retake boards every 6 years. None of this is in my continuing education, I promise you that. And none of it's on my medical boards. But over and over and over, it's shown that 71% of cancers are probably preventable. Preventable. Not only can we change the course of disease and reverse the disease process, but if we start paying attention early enough, we can prevent chronic disease. 70% of stroke, 82% of heart disease, and 91% of diabetes is preventable with healthy lifestyle choices. So I knew I was on the right track. I knew it's what I had to do, but there were days when I couldn't eat one more green salad. Couldn't do it. Just shoot me now. And Chris Carr turned me in and is a big advocate for green smoothies and juices. And so I thought I'd give it a try, and it is a daily practice to this day to get in green smoothies and juices. It's an easy way to stick to that alkaline-based diet. Even when I'm on the run, I throw my veggies in a blender and I pour it in a cup and I'm out the door. I can take it in the car, it's food on the road. It's fast food, but it certainly isn't McDonald's. I couldn't wait at this point for my follow-up visit with Dr. Couri. Couldn't wait to share with her everything that I had accomplished, that I was on this vegan track. I was doing my green smoothies and feeling great. I knew she'd be so excited for me, and she was. She said, "That's really great, but we have some bad news. Your thyroid disease is worse." And I know it didn't show up in the blood work, but I really think you need to give up gluten. Shit. Like, really? Like, I have it figured out here. You know, I'm doing it. How am I going to give up gluten? And just so you all know that I know, I'm Italian. And every event in life centers around food. Hell, food is the event in most cases. We all get together, we make pasta, we make bread. Lifelong traditions is what I'm hearing are about to change. Well, she brought me this far. It's something I need to do, right? I need to give it a go. Certainly don't want to let this autoimmune disease keep getting worse. I went home, I did what I do. I started reading about this gluten allergy and why it's so common and what the heck is happening here. Couldn't believe what I was reading, and by the time I was done, I was convinced everybody on the face of the earth could benefit from giving up gluten. Seriously, it's dangerous stuff. It's really inflammatory. And the funny thing was rarely did I read an article when dairy wasn't mentioned also. Being a common allergen, being just as inflammatory. Mainly a protein in dairy called casein is the big player. And casein and gluten are commonly, I can't tell you, commonly in research articles and journal articles associated with these chronic diseases. And this is not an exclusive list or listed in entirety, but a few of the more common ones I put down: eczema, asthma, allergies, infertility, irritable bowel syndrome, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome, headaches, neurological diseases, learning and behavioral disorders. How many of you here, yourself or someone you know, experiences one of these? And have they ever been advised to change their diet? Have they ever been explained the benefits of getting off gluten and dairy? So I knew it was something I had to do, and I just did it. I just went for it. I did it. But I didn't know how to be a gluten-free vegan. So at this point, I introduced meat back into my diet. Very small portions, keeping in mind that acid and alkaline pendulum. I wanted to always keep it swinging in the right direction. And to this day, I follow what is basically a Paleolithic diet. I am completely grain-free, dairy-free, gluten-free. I eat fruits, vegetables, and meat. And I just make sure that 3/4 of my plate is vegetables, a very small 2 to 3 ounce serving of meat, sometimes a serving of fruit depending on how much fruit I put in my smoothies that day, and always pay attention to how much healthy fats I'm ingesting. But I had done it, and I'll tell you, After a week of being gluten-free, I realized I hadn't had a migraine headache that week. And I thought back to that list of symptoms and got out that questionnaire. Every single thing on that questionnaire was gone. Gone. Not better, not slightly improved, gone. The first period I had after going gluten-free came as a shock. I went to the bathroom and I had started. And I sat there thinking, I thought about the calendar. There was no PMS. There was no cramping. There were no headaches, no mood swings. And the period was 3 days and it was done. Everything in my life was different. Every body symptom and more had changed. I had some kind of urinary urgency symptoms. Again, thinking I'm 41, perimenopausal, smooth muscles relaxing, my bladder's going to be changing. Gone. No more bladder trouble. Little things like my eyelids were different. They used to be swollen slightly so that I had this ridge that I could easily apply eyeliner on. I noticed like that swelling was gone. I thought, holy cow. I'm going to stay on this track. And I couldn't wait to go back and tell Dr. Couri that I did it. That I did it, and I was proud of myself and felt empowered, and she was proud too. Once again, she said, but I have some bad news. Your thyroid disease is worse. And you've obviously done everything you can with your diet, and I don't think it's diet related. I think we're missing something else. And she sent my urine in to be tested for some environmental toxins. And it came back that I had toxic levels of trimethylbenzene and styrene. I had high levels of 3 other winners, but these 2 were at toxic levels. One of these is a preservative used in wood. Another one is a coating that's used on plastics. And sometimes leathers, commonly used in our cars, our new automobiles. The thing that I learned about these when I tried to figure out what the heck they were and how they got in my body was that they are known causes of leukemia and lymphoma. I was panicked. I just wanted them out of my body. Now, I'm pissed because in America we know this. It's in OSHA manuals. Yet we still use them every day. We still expose the public to them every day. I just needed them out. Dr. Couri consulted an environmental medicine expert that she trusted, and he recommended that I start sauna treatments, 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week, and also use a couple supplements to help my body excrete these toxins. So my gym time became sauna time. And sure enough, my numbers finally started going down. Now I'm not off medication, but I feel like I'm going in the right direction. Certainly not getting worse. And I feel really content with that. Like I feel like I really took control. I'm doing everything I can to be the healthiest person I can be. And one day I'm in my living room and I forget what I was doing. I was picking something up or dusting or something, and my husband hollered to me from across the room and said, "What are you smiling about?" And I shrugged, and I think I said, "I don't know, it's just the new me, I guess." But I stayed in that moment and thought, did I smile so little that when he sees me smiling now, he feels like he has to say something? And worse yet, what kind of mother had my children been witness to? Certainly one that grieved the loss of her father, But what kind of mother did I want them to remember and talk about? The new, joyful, energetic one, for sure. And so I decided to clean out my den. And this is my favorite metaphor in my household, because I have a den on the front of my house, and the den has a door on it. And when crap's piling up all over the place that I don't want to deal with, I just shove it in the den and close the door, pretend like it's not there. And aren't we all a little professional at that? You know, we're doing it. We're mothers, we're daughters, we're employees, we're wives. We're putting together those perfect birthday parties. And meanwhile, we just keep throwing important shit in the den. Well, every once in a while, you gotta go back and clean out the den. And I decided to start counseling. And I gave you all a copy of this quote. I used to hand it out to patients all the time, and it's a little more eloquent than throwing shit in the den. But it says, "The sorrow which has no vent in tears may make other organs weep." You can't keep this stuff in. You have to learn to vent and deal with the stresses in your life. It will make you sick. It does play or have an integral part in your health. I started counseling, and I learned or came to know that I was pretty familiar with a recording that was playing in my head. I could turn the volume down sometimes, but it was always there, that I had decided to end my dad's life. My truth was, he decided when the fight was over, and I was the one that was strong enough to be there to make sure his wishes were carried out. Now that's a subtle difference with a big impact. And my new mental clarity and the change of perspective allowed me to feel that. Made a big difference in my grieving process and in my life. And I also learned that I needed to put up some boundaries. There were people in my life that just sucked the life right out of me. They took and they took and they took, and they gave very little back, if anything. And I had to learn that it's okay to let people down. It's okay to say no. I couldn't be everything to everyone. If I could look at a situation and see that domino effect happening, and in the end it was detrimental to me, it's okay. Nobody's going to die. Very little number of people get mad. It's okay to say no if it means that I'm caring for myself. And I had to get to know myself and what my needs were. And I started practicing a lot more yoga and meditation, gave up the heavy weight training and aerobic exercise, and took the time to really silence my mind and listen and pay attention to what was being brought before me. And if you can do that, if you can quiet yourself and realize what your needs are, things just start lining up for you. Chris Carr says, whether it's Jesus, Buddha, or Elvis, whoever it is that you worship, you still have to listen. You still have to pay attention. And so I was becoming pretty good at acknowledging my needs as a woman, as a sister, as a friend. But that took time and practice. And along the way, I became very empowered and embraced the idea of self-care. And if you can do that, if you can feel good about taking care of yourself, you're really able to expand your presence and get so much experience in this life. And really, isn't that why we're all here tonight? Because we want to get as much as we can out of our time on earth here. So my hope for you when you leave here tonight, if a lot of this is new to you, is not that you throw your hands up in the air and you say, oh my God, I have to change everything. No. I hope that you start having kinder, gentler conversations with yourself. Perhaps you wake up and you say, today, I'm going to nourish my cells. Today, I'm going to nourish my mind, my body, and my spirit. Today, I choose me. Today, I choose health over disease. And if you're able to do that, if you're able to take baby steps towards making those small decisions throughout your day, I promise you, the experience that awaits is pretty fantastic. Thank you for listening. Thank you. Anybody have any questions about anything? I know they want to move on and have you try some of the products that I spoke about.
Yeah, now's your time to ask questions. Any burning
I have a question. You said you follow the Paleolithic diet pretty much, but then you also watch your fat intake. What can you expand on that?
I pay attention to the healthy fats. I don't count calories. I don't worry necessarily about the fat content in the meats or how much I'm taking in. I just keep my portions small. But I do pay attention to getting healthy fats in every day, in avocados, in almonds, in coconut oil. If I do saute something, I use coconut oil. Sometimes I'll add that to smoothies to get a dose of healthy fats in. And I do supplement my omega-3s every day too, knowing that in an 80-20 vegan diet, you're not taking in too much. And in this area, I feel like it's hard, and I'm not an expert at it. I'm certainly still walking along this journey, but I feel like it's hard to get healthy examples of omega-3 and in fish in this area.
Definitely have to.
You have to be pretty choosy.
Yeah. This book, Practical Paleo, one of my very, very favorite books, and I'm trying to find the section on here. She does a beautiful job at talking about healthy fats versus unhealthy fats. And I think, unfortunately, the medical profession and the government have dished out really poor advice over the years about the harmful effects of saturated fat. And I think we're also phobic of saturated fat because it's going to cause heart disease and it's going to cause atherosclerosis and hardening of the arteries. But the most current data on that has now dispelled that myth that saturated fat is the cause of heart disease. We now know that the root cause of heart disease is chronic inflammation that's damaging our blood vessels from the wrong kinds of fats. So, like Melissa said, healthy fats would be like coconut oil or olive oil, and the kinds of fats that you really truly want to try to avoid would be the polyunsaturated vegetable oils that for so many years we thought was the elixir of health. So you really want to avoid corn oil, soybean oil, sunflower, safflower oil. All of those are highly unstable fats. They oxidize very quickly and they cause chronic inflammation and heart disease, as well as dementia and other comorbidities. So Practical Paleo, this author does a beautiful job about explaining the rationale behind the Paleolithic lifestyle eating plan. And so the first half of the book is the science behind it, and the second half of the book is the practical part where she gives recipes and meal plans. I was vegan for 4 years, and I am no longer based on the current data on the effects of too much grains in our diet and the importance of healthy fats in the diet. And I think I agree completely with what Melissa said about 3/4 of our plate should be vegetables, and it's okay to have some lean, organic animal protein, whether it be organic red meat or organic chicken, or better yet, the omega-3 and rich Alaskan salmon, black cod, things like that. So this is a very, very good book.
Yeah, and I kind of hesitated when I mentioned animal fat, because honestly, I could talk for a whole nother hour on the topic, but animal fat contains non-organic animal fat contains GMOs. The animals have been fed GMO grain, and I choose to stay away from that. So while I'm mindful of the fat I'm taking in, it no longer scares me as long as it's organic. Not like in the days when I was following the MD prescribed heart-healthy lifestyle. My whole family was scared of fat. I avoided it. I stayed away from it. And those cholesterol numbers that scared me in the beginning wouldn't worry me now. Your body needs it.
You mentioned some of the oils. What about olive oil?
That's a good one.
That's okay.
Olive oil is great. It's not good at high temperatures, so you don't want to cook in olive oil. You don't want to saute in olive oil because it's unstable at high temperatures. So coconut oil then would be a wonderful oil to cook in, or because it's more stable at high temperatures. Avocado oil is even better at high temperatures. Avocado oil is a beautiful oil for even higher temperatures than what coconut oil will withstand. And avocado oil is one of my favorites.
What about grapeseed oil?
Canola oil is grapeseed oil. I used to be more sold on it. Definitely, if you're going to use it, it's a neutral oil. It's a little bit better than olive oil at high temperatures, but it doesn't have the benefits as like the heart healthy benefits, or even the benefits for our brain as coconut oil, because coconut oil is a medium chain triglyceride, and it has some amazing properties, health benefits for our brain. So I would prefer that versus grapeseed or canola oil. If I wanted a neutral oil that I could use as a salad dressing, I would use olive oil or the avocado oil.
Is coconut oil available locally or just in
Yeah.
Yes, it's more and more. It's at Walmart now in the baking aisle. Organic coconut oil is available. And Costco has big jugs of it. Like, I think Hy-Vee, I found a larger jar than is at the other grocery stores, but then Costco had a big tub of it. Mm-hmm.
Just a quick question. I wondered how your family, how has the changes in your diet and your health, and obviously you feel so much better. So how is it at your house? How do your boys and your husband, have they been affected by?
They certainly have been affected, and at home we all eat the same things.
Okay, I just wondered.
And I don't have what I consider to be unhealthy things at home for the boys. But there are social stressors that come into play with those kids, and I give in. At school, the way that it works at their school, for instance, is the way that they're paraded in the lunchroom. Hot lunch sits with hot lunch and cold lunch sits with cold lunch. So my boys often decide whether they're hot or cold lunch depending on what their friends are going to have. This is their 15 minutes of social time out of the day. I don't fight them on it. I let them have the crap at lunch. and it's crap.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nachos.
They don't eat it all anyway.
And it's cheese sticks. Yeah, God knows what actually gets eaten. And honestly, I didn't think that they ever ate vegetables. Like Ethan came home and told me that the green beans were so gross and they're mushy. And I just assumed that they're never going to eat the vegetables and never talk about it. Well, another mom went and had lunch and she goes, "Your boys ate the vegetables first. And I was like, what? And she said, I was so impressed. I think they were the only ones at the table that ate the vegetables, but they ate them first before the brownie. So they are learning. They do have it in their head. But that's where I'm at right now with them.
What do you put in your smoothie?
My green smoothie. My favorite green smoothie is cucumber, spinach or kale or romaine lettuce, whatever I have left. Green apple, water, and a little bit of ginger. Chris Carr has a ton of recipes available on her website. And she also has a network of people, like a social group on Facebook, and everybody makes recommendations on their smoothies. And there's people adding jalapenos and red pepper flakes and spicing things up. And I don't sway too much from the norm, because if I don't like it or if I can't get it down, it's a big waste. And I don't want to waste it. But the apple, and sometimes I'll put in some blueberries, depending on how sweet the apples are. One thing about making green smoothies that I left out, be careful in how sweet you make them. You don't want it to be a fruit smoothie. The ratio for vegetables to fruits should be 3-to-1, approximately. Otherwise, not only are you swinging the pendulum to the acidic side, but you're going to have an increase in blood sugar and an insulin reaction and a whole cascade of metabolic things happening that are really detrimental to drinking a green smoothie. So not only pay attention to the colors, but you do want it mostly vegetables. Oh, I put an avocado in too. Half of an avocado every day. A whole one if I'm sharing the smoothie with my husband. And
Organic meat.
Hy-Vee, you want to get to know your local farmers. There are people with grass-fed beef in the area available for sale. Have the conversations at farmers markets during the summer when they're there and get to know their practices. And then they'll contact you and tell you when the beef is ready to be butchered. Hy-Vee does sell organic chickens. I think a lot of places, if you look now, you can get organic chickens. Here's my thing with Hy-Vee and why it keeps coming up. All the organic produce is in one section. And I can go to that section and get what I need, and I don't have to wander throughout the rest of the store. And then they have the health market, and I can go and get my frozen fruits. Organic fruit isn't available all year round, so I buy a lot of frozen organic fruit and keep that on hand for all my smoothies. So it's just a convenience thing, and on Wednesdays, anything out of the health market's 10% off. But now, when I'm in a pickle, there's other grocery stores that are increasing their organic produce or increasing the availability to some of these health food items.
Costco does have organic ground beef too.
Do they? Good to know.
I just remembered that we have these, and I'll pass them out. This is a wonderful publication that put out, it's Central Illinois Buy Fresh, Buy Local, and it's a very comprehensive list of organic farmers in Illinois that have both produce and meats and chicken. And so I'll pass these out, and you guys can.
I'm not sure. Do they have meats? I've been to Naturally Yours a couple times, and it was in a time, honestly, when I was pretty overwhelmed. And I remember just being shocked that there was still a lot of processed stuff in there. Like, it's labeled healthier or healthy and supposed to be healthier for you, but it was at a time when I was really mad at the marketing schemes in this country. And honestly, the markets, that's a whole nother hour talk we could have. The control over our supermarkets. But it just makes my head explode. And so.
There used to be, next to our veterinarian, Dr. Sassman, her husband had a store there. I haven't looked in there. I don't know if maybe it's between Pekin and Tremont.
Oh, off of Route 9, Heritage, yeah.
That was,
Yeah.
because he advertises, and I've been in there, they put a lot of clothes in.
Yeah, they have good meats though. Yes, they do. Mm-hmm.
What's it called?
Heritage, I think.
I don't know.
If you're traveling on Route 9 towards Tremont or going east, it's off the right, and they have a wagon sitting right off the road with an American flag, and it says locally grown produce and meats.
You know, on the sign says, Good Shepherd veterinarian, her husband, Dr. Sassman's husband, is the one that.
Her husband does have the store, and they do have the product here that's, homegrown. There's several in the area, not in Eureka. And I believe Pottstown Deli might have grass-fed beef.
They do.
Yes,
They have
yes,
those
they
that-
do. Yes,
and
they
also
do.
have goat and bison and elk.
What about features in Tremont?
They do not have grass-fed beef. And their bacon does have some preservative and nitrates in it. They do have organic chickens. It does concern me. I'm in there a lot.
Me too, I love that guy.
I know,
He's gonna
they are wonderful people, and he does believe that he's buying healthy chickens, healthy raised chickens, but I've bought just chicken breasts in there before, and they're huge. They're huge. I mean, they're this big, and I just think, these chickens were given something. A normal chicken. And if you compare it to the whole chickens that you can buy from him, that breast didn't come off a chicken that looked like that. So,
What about Fresh Market, their chickens, they say antibiotic-free?
antibiotic free is good. It is not organic. What they're being fed may have pesticides or may be genetically modified grain. And those are things that I choose to avoid for my gut health.
I have a question about the dill pickles. Did you say that gluten is in dill pickles?
Artificial food coloring.
The artificial food.
Yes, and dairy is in a lot. The artificial food coloring is in every jar that I looked at. I was having a 4th of July party, and what I struggle with social gatherings still is, do I impose my restrictions or my choices onto my guests? Because that isn't how I was raised. I was raised to make them comfortable, make sure they have what they need. And so we were having a beer and brats and burgers 4th of July. And so I'm out looking for the stuff, and that's when I came across the pickles, and I went to like 4 different places, I'm not kidding. And they all have food dyes in them. And so I brought it up to my guests that day, like, you won't believe this, they all know my struggles. And, and one of my neighbors said, oh, I make my own. And I said, oh, you have to tell me. She goes, yeah, we grow our own cucumbers, I'll share, I have a ton. And I said, how do you make your own pickles? What do you use? Oh, I buy a packet of stuff at Menards. Okay, clearly, I'm not going to be able to use that packet of stuff from Menards. And so I'd love to have those conversations with people, like I reach out for help, but not everybody is looking into things the way I do.
What do you do when you go to family gatherings and they're having?
I take my own food. Some of those toxic relationships I was talking about were family. unfortunately, and they're very disrespectful of our journey and our lifestyle choices. And I just take my own, or we politely decline, and we don't eat there. We'll be there at 2, enjoy the meal. We'll come when everybody's done, see everybody. It's okay. Anything?
What do you think of alkaline water? I know some gals that have the water contraption.
I've read that. I've seen the recommendations. I'm not to the point where I'm paying attention to that. I'm making sure that I get my 12 bottles of water a day, and it certainly is filtered water, but I'm on the alkaline side of things without it, so it's not something that I'm paying attention to right now. I don't know if you have an opinion.
Same, pretty much, sure, but I think it's unnecessary to buy those very expensive systems to alkalinize your water. You can alkalinize your lifestyle and your diet, and that makes, in my opinion, a bigger impact. Because those alkalinizing systems, depending on which ones you buy, are very costly, thousands of dollars.
As you're thinking about nourishing your cells, if you think of it as that level, everything that you want to put in should have a big impact. So water is extremely important, but if you're thinking about the alkaline side of things, use vegetables and you can get all these vitamins and minerals and fiber along with it. Don't take in empty things that'll take up space for other important items throughout the day.
How much water a day do you recommend?
I think the recommended is still 8-ounce glasses. I personally have 12 of these a day, and I think these are 16-ounce bottles. So I have 12 of these a day. And you know, Deepak Chopra says the best way to cleanse your body is to drink room temperature water. Like, it can be as basic as that. Give your liver and your kidneys the power to flush the toxins out by drinking water.
I usually tell patients, take half your body weight, and then that would be how many ounces of water you should be drinking a day. You know, Melissa gave a beautiful, very comprehensive discussion about her journey and all of the facets that are involved. It's not just diet. It was her letting go of stressors and really healing her entire being, mind, body, and spirit. And I think that's overwhelming for patients to know where to start. Like, oh my gosh, do I have to get rid of gluten? Do I have to get rid of dairy? I have to meditate. I have to do yoga. I have to work. You know, maintain my employment, and I have to read labels. And I tell them, it can be very overwhelming. But you know, what we've tried to do here is make it as easy and as convenient as possible, because it is overwhelming. And we have our program that's 15 weeks. It's called the TLC program. It's a lifestyle program. And in that program, we teach you how to do all of these things on a one-to-one basis. So we teach you how to meditate. We teach you how to do yoga. We teach you how to eat based on your lab results, because not everybody needs to get rid of dairy. I don't think dairy is the elixir that the dairy industry wants you to believe that it is, but it's not always cookie cutter in terms of the approach that you have to take to get to optimal health. And in that 15-week program, we look at your food sensitivities. We find out what is causing inflammation in your body. Maybe it's corn. Maybe it's egg. Who knows? But we look at that. We teach you stress reduction, biofeedback, how to monitor, how to engage your parasympathetic system, which is your relaxation system. So we teach you all of those things. We detox, we do a week of detox because sometimes it can be overwhelming if you don't know what to do or what to eat. So there is help. You don't have to do it alone. And that's why we're hosting these events, so that way you guys can realize that, you know what, it is within your power. Like Melissa said, you have complete control, and you can do it. Sometimes you just need some help, because again, this isn't something that your mom taught you. This isn't something that your medical doctor, your family doctor may be talking about. So you can do it.
How often do you feel someone does need to detox, just generally, obviously, some more than others, but?
I personally say twice a year is a good idea. In fact, I'm starting mine tomorrow.
I can tell you that now that I'm in tune to things and I'm paying attention, I can feel it creeping up. And I know it's time, and it is about every 6 months.
We'll have you guys taste the product tonight. It's really, if you want to. I mean, it's yummy. I like it.
Just think about, yeah, I was just gonna say, think about your oil change too. You change the oil on your car every 3,000 miles supposedly, so it's kind of the same tune-up as far as your gut, to just kind of re-energize your battery.
And one of the things we're gonna give away tonight is a kit, is a detox kit, so one of you lucky attendees, whether you as everybody if anybody wants to look at Chris Carr's book, we have it. She is amazing. I had the privilege of meeting her in Springfield at a lecture series, and she is truly one of my very favorite women that I've ever met. Incredibly motivating, and I love her work. It's awesome.
I was just going to say, I've tried a lot of the recipes in that book, and it's really good food, and it's really easy to make.
Yeah.
A lot of the recipes in it, really good. And my family, my kids eat it.
And honestly, that's
Oh, in this little.
There's a little.
how I got my husband on board. Was I would just have him taste things I was eating. And I would often say, nothing I eat is bad. It's fabulous. I think that I would rather have that bacon double cheeseburger on the menu, but what I order really is fabulous. So it's just a mental game. And he started ordering the same things and then started eating the same things at home. And it's good stuff.
Does he feel better too then? Has he said?
Well, here's the thing. Yes, he does. But he goes out to eat every day for lunch and is in Pekin, has a dental office in Pekin. And you can try to order something healthy and pure and whole in Pekin, but it's not. It's bar food. It's processed. It's frozen. Anywhere you go or any way you look at it, if you're going out to eat and it's not a chef-driven restaurant, you're not eating whole food. And so he tries to make good choices, and he does feel better, but he needs to detox more than I do. Anything else?
Oh, I got one too. Sorry.
We'll have to give away Chris's book instead. We'll give away Chris's book instead.
Are you? Yeah. Yeah, big time.
Beverly Hayes.
pick what book she wants. You could pick what book you want. How's that? That's a good feeling.
Nat Weir's.
Danny Deutsch.
Tina Thomas.
Oh, yeah, good.
Do you already have that one? If you
No,
do,
I don't have
okay.
this one because I'm.
All right, very good. Yep, all right, now is the detox grand prize. Don't have all excited.
I just wanted to tell you how much I've enjoyed listening to you and how informative everything is. And
Thank you.
I think that it's everybody, all of our opinion, I really do. And
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
That means a lot to me. Not everyone in my life is as supportive, so it did take a little bit to put my story out there and reach out to an audience that was ready to hear it. So thank you for saying that.
Well, it's the truth, and I think that we all should express our feelings, and you did a beautiful job.
Thank you.
Mm.
Thank you.
Yeah.